Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people just like you. I'm your host, Claudia. Today's guest is going to share how he became a tattoo artist while still in the military. He then went on to become Ink Master in Season 3. He is going to talk about how he keeps his marriage strong and what tips he has for you. Please help me in welcoming Joey Hamilton. Joey, how are you today? I know I just said it was early for you. You said it's not. It's still early for me, but how are you this morning?
Doing great, just the life of getting a 4-year-old ready for school and getting out the door. So, and then trying to get this right on time. So it's the usual hectic morning.
You are very timely. I will give you that. You actually hopped on here before I did. So props for doing that. And how is it having a 4-year-old? Let's talk about that for a second.
I have a 21-year-old also, but the 4-year-old was, me and my wife have been together for about 14 years. And we she finally was like, okay, let's have a kid. And I'm like, I think I was 49 at the time, which, it's pretty late in life to start over. And, it's a great decision overall, but man, sometimes you're like, what am I doing? You're not getting to enjoy getting older, I guess, or the free time. Like I have zero free time, but I wouldn't trade it. Like that little guy is so much fun and always, giving you hugs and just hanging out, and like it's a great blessing. But man, sometimes you're like, what am I doing? Now I'm 53 and it's like my wife's like, let's have another one. I'm like, no effing way.
How are you 53? So I apparently have a knack for having people on this show who look much younger than they actually are. You carry on this tradition because I don't see it at all.
Well, thank you. But yeah, it's like my wife always says, you don't look old. And I'm like, well, but I am old. Like my body is old and I can definitely tell that. But that's the funny part about having a wife that's into health and beauty and all this stuff. And it's like that little saying that like you puts the lotion on. So she always makes me put lotion on my face. And, it's understandable. Like I had a younger brother that was in Florida that was always, the sun was beating down on his face. And I was like, man, you got to like take care of your skin because, it helps out. Not that I'm trying to look young and not my age. It's just, you just feel better, overall.
I think tattoos help that as well. What I mean by that is I take much better care of my skin now because I have invested so much time and money and a little bit of pain into the art that is on me, and I don't want anything to happen to it.
Right. Well, yeah, definitely. You would notice that people definitely put more sunscreen on. They put lotion on a lot more because they want their tattoos to look great.
Mm-hmm.
That's they always ask, how can my tattoos look better? Well, for one, put lotion on it or put sunblock on it, and it will tend to last longer and look better overall.
So we have just jumped right in here. And I mean, obviously, I know who you are. I have known you for a few years now. But if there's anybody who's been hiding under a rock and who doesn't watch competition reality TV or Netflix, because now you're back on there, Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
My name is Joey Hamilton. I am season 3 winner of Ink Master. But that has been 8 years ago, just FYI. So it's kind of crazy that it's cycling back through with Netflix and Amazon and all that stuff. And I get DMs all the time. People are like, oh, I just finished the season. I'm like, man, it's 8 years ago, but it's great for me, for my business, for everything. So, but I have done other TV shows before. I was on Inked on A&E. I've done all kinds of, you name it, like the Paris Hilton show. I've done all kinds of, I did TMZ, I did a Miller High Life commercial. I did a Taco Bell commercial. Like I've done all kinds of things. So it's kind of crazy to look back at it as myself going, wow, okay, I did do all that, so.
I'm learning some new things about you because I'm pretty sure I watched Inked.
I was
So,
on season 2 of Inked.
okay. So I'm going to have
The
to go
whole
back
season.
and
I was one of the main guys. That's why I was actually in Vegas. That's why it all started in Vegas, is because I had come out here. I was getting divorced at the time, and I came out to Vegas and was here for a month with one of my buddies to play cards, and I decided to tattoo while I was here. And Inked was the very first show that was on TV. It was a reality-based show on Carrie Hart's tattoo shop at the Palms.
Mhm.
Well, I decided to go in there and see if I could do what's called a guest spot, just to kind of be like, man, I worked at Carrie Hart's shop. And they said, well, you can't do that, but you can uh, try out to be on the show. And I was like, I already have my own shop in Florida. It's like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I literally, one of my buddies talked me into like trying out. So I tried out. Needless to say, the whole month-long process, the last day before I'm going back to Florida, they call me and say, are you in town? I said, yes. And they said, okay, you start tomorrow. And that was it. So between that, and then I already knew a guy out here, so we became roommates. And it was just like this quickly, went into me being here having fun to filming a reality TV show. And it was fun for sure. I learned a lot from being on there.
So I guess then Ink Master wasn't such a big jump for you other than it was a competition.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Since I'd already done it and I knew, and I'd already had that environment of the cameras being around you, and, like they could be literally sitting right here and you just have to learn to block that out. And we're talking, that's how
Mhm.
it is. And I got past that pretty quick. It's just like having somebody stand there, listen to your conversation. But, yeah, but the critique part, definitely that was something different, that
Mhm.
I hadn't experienced, of somebody sitting there trying to tell you what's wrong with your tattoo or what they think is wrong, or,
Mhm.
you know,
And a lot of it's very subjective, I feel like. So I can imagine
yes,
it would be hard to hear that sometimes.
yes. Well, yeah, that's all. I learned that pretty quickly, that arguing with them wasn't going to get you anywhere, or trying to defend yourself wasn't going to get you too far, because they're never going to agree with you. I could do the tattoo 10 times, I could do the tattoo and then go, okay, this is where I was going with it. And they're never going to go, oh, I got it. They're going to keep trying to break you down and
Mhm.
tell you what they, it's not that they're making fun of it, but they're doing their job. They need
Sometimes
to be
they were making
confident.
fun of it. Sometimes not
Yeah.
yours, not yours, but
Right. Well,
um
I will say that there was reasoning behind a lot of that, where yes, they should have been making fun of tattoos, but when it was in my own tattoos, I didn't
mhm.
see it as much as what they were trying to call out. So
So I want to back up a little bit. I want to ask you first off about what we're calling tattooers now, because we used to call them tattoo artists, as I recall, and it feels like there's been a shift. Now you're a tattooer. Are you aware of this shift, or is this just
tattoo.
what the rest of us are doing?
I don't try and yeah, I don't
What are
pay
you?
attention.
What do you call
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah, I don't. I call myself an artist, a tattoo artist. Like I'm not into the name tags, or like if the guys that draw more want to be called a tattooist, or what it doesn't matter to me. I mean, all that matters to me is do a good job and make people happy to come back, and that's it, plain and simple.
How did you get started in this?
It's a funny story, 'cause I was in the military for 10 years, and my last year and a half, I was like, okay, I know I'm getting out, and I needed a job, and I literally was like, what am I gonna do? And my dad's buddy was a bike builder, pretty kind of a famous bike builder, and he says, you can come with me and learn how to paint motorcycles, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should look into tattooing, because I've always liked to draw. And that's what happened. I just kind of looked into it. Luckily, there was a guy in the military that had just started tattooing, and he decided to teach me, which he should have never done, because literally he had been tattooing 6 months and he had no rhyme or reason why he should do it, because besides that, we're both military, we
Mhm.
both were trying something new. So it was very beneficial back, it helped me out a lot, but back then he should have never done it, so I just got lucky. I've had so many situations, just like the first ink show, of where things I'm trying to put it out there in the universe that I'm a positive person, that I give back and I want to be nice to people. And that's where I think it kind of comes back to me sometimes. And it's, it doesn't always happen, but, I feel like that's why I get things placed in my lap, just like my business right now. You know what I mean? Like I never thought about expanding to Utah, but Walter walks up and goes, "Hey, or Sausage, everybody knows him. I want to move to Utah." So I said, "Well, let's open there." And then we're getting ready to open Houston. And that's kind of fell on our lap too, where the Tahoe shop at the Hard Rock, they called us. Would you guys like to open a store? So, you do a good job and you put yourself out there that it's positive, and I feel like that you receive it back.
I think you're totally right about that. And we talk a lot on this podcast about just that, about what you put forth is what you will receive back. And if you perpetuate that negative energy, then that's exactly what you are going to receive. So it's nice to see somebody else actually feel that happening in their life. I want to ask you about your apprentice. So what did you learn from your original experience tattooing and learning from somebody who maybe shouldn't have been teaching you, to how you treat your apprentices now, who I love, by the way, and I think you know that.
Russell is my apprentice, and I feel like it's I told him to his face I didn't want to do it. I was straightforward. I'm very honest with him. I don't feel like I want to do it anymore. We had a little, I wouldn't say it's a school, but we had an apprenticeship program, and I went through all that. And I learned from myself. At the time, I thought I wanted to teach, but after I got into the everyday part of teaching, that's when I was like, maybe it's not for me. But Russell presented himself, he worked hard to try and get to wanting to be an apprentice. So, and he'd already was tattooing out of his house. So I was like, you got to shut that down pretty quick. But, I feel, learning from the process, I'm going to probably be shorter with him than I was with the previous people, because I felt like he might be a little bit farther along than they were. But it's a hard job. You have to, there's this whole ebb and flow of being a master and an apprentice, that you have to break them down and have to understand. Like when I say something negative to him, it's not about really being negative to him personally. It's about gearing him ready to be ready for the customer or the person he's dealing with. He has to understand. He has to be able to bounce around. Like, not everybody's going to be as happy and jovial as you. You know what I mean? Trust me, there are going to be people that he does a tattoo on. They're going to be pissed off. They're going to be, what are you doing to me? So he has to, or even just getting to the point to the tattoo, because we got clients that come in there that are difficult to work with, that don't know what they want. So you have to be ready for that. So when I'm negative to him right now, that's it's all the wax on, wax off stuff. You know what I mean? So, it's weird, because Russell in the beginning, I wouldn't say I didn't like him, but it takes a while for me to warm up to somebody. My previous apprentices, like Dexter, like I'd known Dexter a long time and we were friends, and I was never really mean to him in that sense, because he's already been around the business. You know what I mean? So, it'll be fun to see where Russell goes, because I feel like he'll be fine. He's a good talker, but he just needs to understand that it is permanent,
Yes, it is. So, well, mine is looking good so far. So
yeah, so far.
So
just luckily yours is small. He just did one he just did one that I kind of was like, man, I felt like you're taking a step backwards. But that's where I got to break him down and be like, don't pat yourself on the back. You have to critique yourself, and you have to know exactly what you're doing wrong to improve. And that's where I feel like that's my best part of me being his mentor. Is most people would be like, hey, great job, buddy. All the other artists in the shop are like going, great job. I told him to print out the picture and print out and write down everything that's wrong with it first.
Nice.
Before you start patting yourself on the back. So
is it kind of like being a dad? in a sense?
He's almost as old as me. Did you know that?
No way. Is he
He's
really?
like 47 or something. I don't even know. And that's where I was kind of like, man, are you too old? I said to him, I
Gosh.
said, you too old to learn, but um, it's hard to say. A dad, maybe something like that. Maybe a asshole boss, more like it. That I still like that part of the job of being a mentor is that you get to break somebody down, but you get to build them up too. But the fun part is sometimes breaking them down because, the PC world is you don't get to be negative to somebody. But like I said, it's not like about that. It's about building them up back up after you do it. So, but it is fun. Like the military jabbing each other, saying kind of, off character remarks to each other to try and see if you can bust somebody's balls. So,
And that's probably where I'm guessing you learned it or learned how to be good at it is in the military. And you
yeah,
learned the positive aspect of being built back up.
no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that's what I would say the military was very good at, like, because it was more coworkers then. It wasn't your boss breaking you down. Your boss was really trying to show you what to do, but your coworkers were the ones that were, like, just, oh, you slept with that girl? Oh, no way. You know what I mean? Like just stuff like, just military GI Joe stuff that's 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago was very common. It's not as common anymore, but
What led you to the military?
my older brother, who's only a year older, but he was driving a BMW and getting married at 19. And I'm 18 years old in this very small town of 12,000 people in Oklahoma. And I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And that's, you got this little trajectory for your life already. And I was like, I'm just going to go in. And my first base was actually in Japan. So I went from being around my whole family all my whole life to being stuck in a country that I had nothing. So needless to say, it was a learning curve very fast. But I'm glad I did it. It taught me to go to work and when I'm at work, do my job. And that's one of the things I could say that I could see the difference between people between now coming up and how I was brought into it was that when I go to work, I go there to work, but then as soon as back in the day, it's like when I'm off, I'm like, let's go party, but now it's, wife and kids. But that's been my life for 20 some years now.
So you just mentioned, when you go to work, it's time to go to work. And I have noticed that about you, that you have your joking side. You do have to get to know you a little bit before you will open that up. But it feels to me like your work is a place where you kind of are at peace. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I can handle, I'll say this, I can handle a lot more stress at work than I can at home. You know what I mean? When I get home, I want to decompress. And if there's a lot of stress going on, it's hard for me to, like, I just got out of that. You know what I mean? But we're running 4, almost 5 tattoo shops. I've had 2 other businesses that actually failed. But, and you're learning all this stuff at the same time. So, Raphael, whenever he comes through and we're just always talking about like what's going on, what's the lease, what's the contractor, what's this and that. So I think I almost thrive in that environment of tattooing and multitasking at the same time, but still that's my enjoyment. I cannot see myself not tattooing because that's when I'm still working in my brain and thinking, how can I market my company? How can I make new t-shirt, like whatever it is, like whatever the thing for the day is, I can always work on other things. I used to actually play poker when I was tattooing. That's a
Wow.
fun fact. Yes, I would have online poker back in the day and I would play cards while I was tattooing. So, or, it's just funny but people do it all the time. You sit there at work and you could read an audiobook on a different language. And that's what I feel like I need to start progressing to is actually educating myself on other things. I need to get to a point where it's like, okay, the business side is somewhat done and taken care of, and I can educate myself on more things. Because I tattoo people from all over the world. I tattooed a lawyer a month ago that was heavily into crypto and NFTs. and that piqued my interest. Then I tattooed a lady the other day that was heavily into, her husband is heavily into NFTs. And you're just
Mhm.
like, how can I do other things for myself? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I'm kind of dabbling in that market. And it's crazy to see the evolution of tattooing
Mhm.
in the business side. We had what's it called? A hedge fund reach out to us the other day. And you would never think a hedge fund's going to look,
Wow.
they're like, oh my gosh, you have multiple shops, your business model, let's talk about it. Not that I'm going to ever do that with them, but it's crazy to think that that's where our industry is going. A hedge fund actually came in and bought up multiple, not the tattooing side per se, but they bought up the supply companies, the ink companies, the machine companies. They're buying up all this stuff. So the next progression, I think, would be, let's look into tattoo shops.
You mentioned NFTs. That's a teaser. We're going to talk about that. I want to mention t-shirts because you mentioned that. And I want to tell you, I was very pleased when I was in your shop a couple weeks ago to see V-neck shirts, because we had a conversation about that a couple years ago, that I wanted to see V-necks for ladies. Now
Right.
they're there. I'm not saying I had any part of that, but I'm going to pretend in my world that you
I do
heard
remember that,
that.
actually. Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to say you're welcome for the V-necks. But what do you think if you were just the business owner? Then it sounds like you wouldn't be as happy, because now you have that happy place of getting to tattoo and balancing that with all the business side of it.
I just wouldn't tattoo as much. I'm tattooing 6 days a week right now. So
Wow.
I would, if I scale back to 3, as long as I'm tattooing even 3 days a week and they're fun,
Mhm.
big projects, I'd be happy, or even the small ones, every once in a while, my friends is fine. But, yes, the business side is fun. And I'm always thinking of, you know, the problem is execution. I can think of 1,000 ideas, but I need a strong person underneath me to execute those ideas. And I feel
Mhm.
like that's where we're still in that curve. We're still not there yet. Where as a business, I had an idea of, we did it a year ago for the Make Art Not War shirt,
Mhm.
where we only did 100 of the shirts and we sold them. And then we also gave away a gift card. So it made a supply and demand of like, okay, this is cool. It's going to be a one-off. And this year, that's what I wanted to do every month, was like BJ just came out with his shirt and I wanted to
Mhm.
do that. We came out with the shirt, but we didn't have the promotion. So that's where I feel like, as the business side of me, I'm like going, okay, I wanted to do that. It didn't happen. You know what I mean? And I felt like that's where, if I wasn't tattooing so much, I could still I could get to that part of it a little bit better. But, Raphael's a one-man show,
Right.
5 shops, multiple things going on. So I can't fault him. But before, we had, I would say, stronger people underneath him, underneath
Mhm.
our old CEO. Raphael was one of them that helped, that
Mhm.
got, like, when you disperse all these jobs. And I feel, I we're still like the people, no, I wouldn't say, the job market is very hard right now because nobody really want, and I don't want to say it in a negative way, but a lot of people don't want to work.
Mhm.
So
We don't have to get political about it,
I'm
but
not, I'm
yeah,
not,
a lot of people don't want to
I don't
work.
like either side. So it's like,
I'm kind of,
I
I'm,
voted both sides before, and it is what it is. Like, like I was saying, going back to the tattoo and all kinds of people from all over the world, I literally have political conversations with everybody because that's what they want to talk about. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool to see both sides, and, you know,
that's interesting because I try to steer clear of that. I did talk to Chris about, we talked religion a little bit.
Chris Beck. Yeah.
We did actually talk politics a little bit. So I
Yeah.
take that back.
Yeah. It's funny that's tattoo artists are almost like and I don't want to say therapists in any way, but, if you tattoo somebody multiple times, of course you're
Mhm.
going to have that rapport, and you're going to know more about the person. You're going to be able to connect more. But even like a one-on-one, one time, like I've done that so many times, where you meet interesting people that do completely different things that you do, that you're learning about their views of their life, and it's
Mhm.
kind of crazy too. You're absorbing all that, you know.
What would you say you prefer? Would you prefer to have the person that sits there silently, thus making you sit there silently as well, or somebody that chats a little bit and wants to have a nice 8-hour conversation?
Right. Um, it goes both ways. Sometimes I do like that 20 minutes of like calm
Mm-hmm.
and not talking because I do have to think about other things, but I do like, especially if it's interesting. Like if it piques my interest and we're talking, hell yeah, I'm like, oh, cool. Let me talk about that. So it just really depends on subject matter and the person. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't want to say anything, but I got a guy later that's totally when they don't know what they want or they don't, you know what I mean? It's such a hard thing for me because I always say when you wake up in the morning, you have to be happy with your decision.
Right.
Don't put the decision on me, what you're getting. So when it comes to that, you got to get past that. Okay, what are we getting done? Then I can kind of go get into the environment. But when it's like this so random, like, I don't know, what do you think I should get? You're just like, you're like, oh man, it's like, okay.
That's an interesting perspective because me as I don't want to call myself a canvas. Me as the customer, I look at it a little differently. Now, I would never go in and say, what do you think I should get?
Yeah.
Because that's a little crazy. But I kind of look at it sometimes as I'll give you a bunch of ideas, and then you, the artist, can put them all together in a way that'll look nice
Yeah.
because that's what you, the artist, are good at. But I see your perspective as well, that you don't want to have all that weight on your shoulders of deciding what it's going to be that you're going to put onto somebody else.
Yeah. It is a lot like that. But I mean, like your case, yes, it's great when you have when you have 10 references of like, this is what I like.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that, that's where I'm like, well, you haven't shown me anything. You see, you like baseball. What is it? Or let's say religion, because a guy asked me that the other day. I just want to get a religious tattoo, and I said, okay, well, what does religion mean to you? What does it represent? You know what I mean? Does that mean praying hands? Does that mean a picture of Jesus? Does that mean, Virgin Mary? What does it mean to you? Because I could have 80 ideas and you're like, nope, 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 nope. But if you bring me 5, like, I like this, I like that, then I don't want to say that makes our job easier, but it does because, that's the part of this job people don't really see is at nighttime after I've already shut it all down with my family, 9 o'clock at night, I'm trying to gear for the next day and still spend the next 2 or 3 hours getting the tattoo ready for the next day. And if you're so random that I don't have any kind of ideas what you want, then I'm like sitting here in bed, like going, I have no idea what I'm doing. So it just makes my job easier in a sense and less stressful, I would think. Not that it's any easier because you're still designing and all that stuff, but
You're still putting something permanent onto another human being.
yes. And I feel it's kind of funny, but the permanency, I don't look as harsh as I used to. Like, oh man, I messed that up, because it's still a tattoo and nothing's ever perfect. So you have to deal with that. I can do it. That's why I'm probably never happy with my own tattoos, because I look at them and I'm like, oh, that's actually okay. And then I look at it 10 minutes later and I'm like, no, and that's just the whole artist part of it. Your artists are never really supposed to be happy with what they do, but that's why you try and strive and learn.
I think you were actually happy with my Hanya mask.
I am.
Like, I was shocked.
I would say if I do post it, if it makes it that far, and it's funny to look back at my Instagram because I do have a lot of followers, and it's like, I look back and I might have posted 20 times for the year, which for an Instagram of that size, you're just like, well, I didn't really I do my story a lot, which I like that because it's only a small 24-hour, like, here you go, but yeah, overall, I might do a photo dump like 3 weeks after I've done a bunch of tattoos. And I do that a lot. And people, which one's your favorite? You know what I mean? You're trying to create the interaction, and then I look back and I go, man, I could have posted each one of those. Got as much more interaction, but I hate to say it, but I don't like social media. I really wish I didn't have to do it as much, but it is what it is. It helps with the business,
Have you thought about getting somebody to do it for you?
I've been looking for 2 years probably plus to have an in-house social media person.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're out there and you want to apply, please apply, because we've always had, it's been outsourced, and I never really felt like that it gets the interaction that it needs, the stories that it needs, the content that it needs. We used to have the Tattooing Live Worldwide where we had cameras in every station. That was my idea before Facebook Live, before Instagram Live, all this stuff, where the person could come in and share their experience with whoever wants to watch it from back home, because a lot of people travel out here.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of my first initial ideas. And then now it's the same thing. The social media should be interactive, where you come in and we take a picture with you, or take a picture of you and post it for you, type of thing, just to kind of help grow the social media, all this stuff. And I actually tattooed an influencer person yesterday, and it was funny because she was like, "Oh my God, you guys have to get on TikTok and do one of those dances." And I said, "There is no fucking way that I'm going to get all these guys to do this." You know what I mean? Like, our world's not that world.
Right.
People dancing around, having fun. You know what I mean? Russell might do it, but
Right.
it's just not us. So, but I do see the interaction, and I do see we need that. And I feel like there's a Jack tattoo shop downtown that does $10 tattoos, that their TikTok blows up because that's what they're doing. They're doing, TikTok stuff that they get them to share their place. And it's great, great advertising and marketing. And I feel like I still want that in my stores. You know what I mean? I want that people to be proud of what they're doing and sharing, so yeah, like I'm waiting, still waiting.
I have an idea for you. I'll share it after we're done. It's not TikTok, and you don't have to dance, because I can't see. I'm thinking of everybody in your shop.
Dance, but
okay, well, now we're gonna
not
have
like
to talk
that.
about
But Raphael
that.
actually used to dance. Raphael used to be one of the show dancers. Like, he was trying out for that. Like,
what kind
Michael
of show?
Jackson won.
Okay.
Like an actual legit.
Because we've had another type of dancer on this before, who is now a singer in a band.
Oh, cool.
And he was in a show in Vegas as well. So, but a different, not the Michael Jackson show.
Right.
Well, we are going to wrap it up here shortly. If I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you a couple quick relationship related questions, because ultimately that's what we're here to talk about. You mentioned earlier going through a divorce. So I want to ask you, it's very clear now that you have an amazing relationship with your wife. You can see that on social media, because, I've seen that. So what did you learn through that first marriage that you use now to have a successful relationship with your wife?
Me and my first wife used to argue a lot, and it wasn't in my makeup, I would say. It was more of her wanting to, that was her mentality. And I think arguing that much for 6 years, it calmed me down and allowed me to not be as quick to argue. And I think that's helped out a lot in my marriage now, is that, my wife is Russian now, and it's like she talks loud sometimes, and she doesn't, we don't like to argue. You know what I mean? When I'm like, it's like one of those things. And I think that's part of just getting older and understanding where to pick your battles. You know what I mean? But as much as I learned from my first one, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just to kind of take a step back sometimes and understand that it's not the end of the world if I don't get whatever is going on in my life that day. So, now my only arguments are about money.
Which
I'm getting
we've talked
older.
about.
I gotta save it. You know what I mean? And then, she likes to shop, but that's probably most women. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
that's it. I love my wife. I love my son. I love my other son. And it's like just learning and moving forward. And as you get older, you just learn that sometimes it's just not worth it. And you do, I still do pick my battles, and I still want to be like, all right, let's do this or do that. But just being in a loving relationship. When you put, like we were saying before, when you put something out there as far as you want to be loved and you love that person, then you'll get it back. So, but if you put it out there and you're negative to them and you want to cut them down all the time, you want to, if that's not how you should be in a relationship. I don't see that. I don't see how people can be in that when they are, oh, my wife did this or did that. I'm like, well, why are you with them if you don't like that? You know what I mean? So
Why be miserable if you don't have to be?
yes, exactly.
I will say it is funny to hear you talk about the shopping, because we've had extensive conversations. She makes all that stuff look good, though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
She rocks every
Yeah.
bit of it for sure.
Yeah. She is what's it called? It's funny this is the best ones when she was like, she'll come home and she'll be like, I got a $200 gift card from Nordstrom, so I spent $800. So I got a coupon, so that means I got to spend money. So it's just funny. I love that part about, and her mom's the same way. Her mom moved in with us, and now I get that whole Russian Baba thing, like close quarters, and it's kind of funny to see where she got it from. Or she'll go to Kohl's and be like, oh, I got this great deal, You're just like, oh, that's where she got it from. So
it is interesting to see that. My husband and I were talking about that recently, things that we clearly got from our parents, or how it molded us. So now you get to see it firsthand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're actually buying a new house, and we're going to have it remodeled where there's a mother-in-law suite downstairs for her. So she doesn't have to go. She's had 2 hip replacements, so she can't go up and down the stairs right now. So, that's a lot. That's just added to my stress right now of like, okay, now I'm trying to buy a house, sell a house, open a shop. Like,
you got a lot going on.
My son's starting a new school next week, so
it never stops.
Yeah. Older son in college. But how are you?
Not as tired as you. Tell me a piece of relationship advice you would give out.
Make them happy. That's it. You know what I mean? As long as they're happy, then you'll be happy. If they're miserable, then you're going to be miserable. So it's as simple as that. Try and make time. Like, we've been married 14 years. So try and make time after the fact. Like, the fun part of, you know what I mean? Like, when you're dating and the first couple of years of marriage are great, but you still have to go on the dates. You still have to make time to make that person feel special.
So let's shift gears. Normally at the very end, I do this segment called Tattoo Talk. We've kind of been doing that the whole time. Let's talk about NFTs.
Okay. Well, I'm still like, that's the crazy part about this whole metaverse. Like I just joked yesterday, like with the social media person, that I'm old. So me trying to reinvent myself, and I wouldn't say reinvent because I'm not trying to reinvent myself, but me trying to dabble in this market is weird in a way. But then I step back and look at it and go, okay, it's just digital art. That's all I'm looking at it as. An NFT is a digital art. And if somebody likes my art enough to go, I want that piece of art, then why shouldn't I try and be the one providing it? So I'm, the guy I talked to last week, he's already like, we're texting every day. Like, what's the game plan? Let's get this thing going. And my first NFT will actually be the drawing, like the finale drawing from the show. So the mermaid that I did on the, I've got it hanging in the store, and then people have asked about that drawing for years. And that's kind of what I wanted to be my first NFT is something that people can relate to. I'm going to have a lower price point. Like most NFTs could start at $3,000 or $4,000. You know what I mean? I'm starting a lower price point, but I'm going to mint probably 1,000 of them. So it's not like, it's just, I look at it as owning a piece of art. If you wanted to go and print it out and hang it on your wall because you're like, wow, this is a piece of Joey Hamilton art, then that's what I want to do. So I have other ideas like further along than that, but that's just the first one. I want to dabble on it, see if I have a strong enough following to kind of get it out there. And everybody seems to think so. So I am once again, being positive on getting it out there. It'll probably be mid-March, something around there. We'll see. My target date was February 1, but then
Right.
the realistic part of it is that, you have to build a Discord group. There's so many more things that you have to do to get into this market. That's not the typical, like back in the day, an artist would just make a print. I collect Peter Lick photographs that you just go pick one out and then they print it out and they send it to you. So it's a little bit different than that. You have to build groups and you have to have a chat conversation. So that'll be kind of fun. In my Discord group, I'm already like imagining an Ink Master, like fan talk behind the scenes, like things like that. So people can get on there and actually interact with me, where it's like me texting them personally. So I'm looking forward to that a little bit. I don't want to like I said it before, I don't like social media, so I'm going to do it some, and I have to do it. But I feel like it's fun. Like, it's just like when I'm tattooing a person that asked about the show. They ask all the time, what was it really like? What was this? What was that? So it'll be a cool experience. People can see like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Now I know some inside scoop that I didn't know before. So
I can see it hanging here for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's everybody I've said, like, that's what I'm doing. They're like, I want one. So I don't see it not selling in a way and not being cool to have, just because, and I'm going to probably throw in a couple of, they call them utilities. So there's going to be a couple special ones in there that are going to have, I'm thinking about a full day tattoo session for free, a couple of those. Yeah, I know. That's everybody that gets tattooed a bunch. They're like, oh, cool. Like, it's a free drawing. We've had really good success with that before when we do charity events where we'll do raffles. And, I always like giving back. I'm doing stuff with the firefighters this next week. I'm doing, 3 Square. I did autism stuff, like everything. We're trying to give back. So, and I'm not asking for anything back. I just like doing it. So, but in the sense, I can feel like that this will be a good thing to get out there. So
I agree. And I'm excited to see it. I think it will be amazing. I know you are very humble and you don't like to think of having fans and followers and all that stuff, but you do, and it's going to be great. So I'm going to let you go because I know you have a lot going on, but before you leave, where can people find you? So if they want to know more about this NFT, if they want to get a tattoo, if they want to give you nothing and have you create a tattoo for them, where can people find you?
The easiest way is, there's multiple ways. So revolttattoos.com will have all of our information on how to get a hold of us. My personal stuff is Joey Hamilton Tattoo. That's my pretty much everything. You can go on Instagram, find me that way. Facebook, for the older people, and then Twitter. Like, I have to get involved in Twitter more, which it's funny. I'm like, I got 60,000 followers on Twitter and I barely go on there, but I'm starting to do that more. So Joey Hamilton Tat on Twitter, because Joey Hamilton Tattoo was already taken, or it was too long. It was too long.
That's why I was going to say, who took that?
Yeah, it's funny that people try and hijack your name or whatever. But and then Joey Hamilton Tattoo at gmail.com is most of the booking questions. So, but my Instagram probably is going to be the start of where I'm going to be starting announcing the NFT,
cool,
all that kind of stuff. And then there'll be a link on there to go join the Discord group. So if you're a fan of the show and you want to ask questions about it, if that's where I'll be answering some cool questions. So hopefully there'll be some cool ones,
I'll start thinking of them now. I will come up.
There's a lot of secret squirrel stuff going on in Ink Master world, so I'm just going to tease that.
Okay, I like it. So check back in. Joey, you have been amazing. I appreciate your time today. I know the audience does as well. Normally, I say at this point, I know what my next tattoo is going to be and I have it scheduled. I can't say that today because I just got one.
You just got one.
Yeah, so I got to start thinking of what the next one will be so that I can come out and see you. But thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate you understanding, like, we had a medical thing with my mother-in-law and then you allowed Chris to tattoo you. So you got a great tattoo out of it, but it's kind of cool that it can go both ways. People can be pissed off, like, oh no, Joey, I flew out here. I've had it. Like, I've had people mad. Like, I got COVID. I didn't have COVID, but I had something for 9 days. And, that guy was super mad at me. And I'm just like, come on, man, please.
Like, what are you supposed to do? I think I heard about that guy from Russell.
Yeah.
So no worries.
So, I appreciate you doing this. This will be my new social media tour.
I like it. We are the beginning of the new social media tour.
Yeah. So, well, have a great day. Have a great weekend. And, to all the people out there that watching this, definitely remember that just put it out there in the world, some positive stuff, and you might get something back.
That is a great final piece of advice.
Thanks.
I really hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Joey as much as I did. I really appreciate how we were able to talk about and learn about a side of him that we don't normally see, while still hearing about his amazing tattooing. And he gave us that sneak peek of information about possibly some interesting things going on in the Inkmaster world. So remember, until next week, you are strong enough and you are worth it. Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. And on YouTube, we're available on the Spear Talk channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.